consider their primary. We're going to learn about what this speaker's primary communication style is and how he can slip between different styles based on the situation at hand. Please join me in welcoming Chris Poole with Depends on the Totality of the Situation.
Thank you so much, Roy. And thank you, everyone visiting and members of Clearwater Sunday Speakers. Depends on the totality of the situation. I don't know how many of you have heard this phrase or not, but it is something that I learned about, 10 years ago when I started a new job. And I'll explain that in a little while. But first, to talk a little bit about myself and where I've developed my communication style. I want to share with you a macroscopic view of my life in a short little time frame here. I was the youngest of 5 children. That meant I was spoiled. I had the dimples, I had the pleading eyes, and I got what I wanted. This actually continued my entire life up until when my father passed away a few years ago. He still spoiled me. I was still his baby. My next oldest sister was 5 years older than I was. And when we were growing up, the 4 older children were able to stay home, but I got dragged everywhere with my parents. Everywhere we went, I got the cheeks pinched, I got patted on the head, I was called Chrissy at that time, and for whatever reason, people like to hand me money. We had a family friend or family member who was a priest, and I'd love to go and listen to him when we were at church in that city because a full Catholic mass, for those of you who know, are normally about an hour long. He got through his entire mass in about 25 minutes. Full sermon, which was always very short, communion, everything. And I always run up to him after church, give him a great big hug, and then he would give me money. If he didn't have money in his wallet, he would take it out of the collection basket and hand it to me. I don't know why. It taught me, though, to always be pleasant and kind and gentle with everyone that I met. I was always exposed to, I'm going to say, the elderly people, because that's who my parents, they helped so many elderly relatives. And again, I was dragged everywhere and I was always exposed to it. So I always had that gentleness instilled at me at such a young age. Growing up, this picture was actually taken last year. All 5 of us siblings got together. That's me on the far left. And then my oldest brother, Ken, my middle sister, Kathy, who's middle there, or the middle child, my older brother, Rob, and then my older sister, Jean. We each have a unique type of relationship. Different communication styles are used with each one of my siblings. My sister, Jean, we have a very very rough style with one another, very abrupt. We play cards together. We play cribbage. We play canasson. We call each other nasty names, but it's all done in love because we are very competitive. We have to win. My brother Rob, up until about 13 years ago, I was silent. I learned not to say anything to my brother Rob or when he was in the room because it did not matter what I said, I was wrong. I learned that I could not say anything. You have to figure out what situations you are in and what your communication style can be. I went to Carroll College and I was the second one of the 5 kids who went to college. Actually, my brother Rob attended and I did also. But I graduated in 3.5 years. I was dedicated. I had a plan. I knew what I needed to do, even though my plan changed. I originally went to college for computer science. I did not understand Computer science was the back end programming, and my mind does not work that way. I like doing the Word, the PowerPoint, the graphic design, the data entry, that front end interface. After one semester, I dropped that as my major and I turned to communication management. I was able to take 20 credits. I was taking 5 classes every semester. I was working every weekend. I worked 2 jobs in the summer to help pay for my tuition. I had a plan and I needed to make sure that I stayed on track. Graduated 3.5 years, bachelor in communication management, minor English liberal arts and business management. One economics class short of a double major. I don't like economics. It was not worth it for me. Communication management. I spoke a lot during college and while working and with my family and with my friends. I was orphaned about 7 years ago now. That's when my father passed away. My papa and my mom passed away 5 years before that. I told you already that they spoiled me. I was the baby of the family, and I had a very unique relationship with both my mother and my father. And I talked to them in different ways. And it was interesting how sometimes my dad would say, "Stop yelling at me." And I would tell him, and I tell my husband this now, I don't yell, I enunciate so you will understand me. We just always had a fun relationship, and I learned so much from both of them. I think my mom was the loud, dominant voice in the family, and dad was that quiet, gentle one in the background. Different styles. This is my husband, Troy. We've been married since 2001. We actually met online, but that's a speech and story in it of itself. We have a wonderful relationship. We complement each other so well. If I am upset, if I am enunciating to him, he makes me think in a more logical, thoughtful manner, and vice versa. Our communication style with each other is wonderful because we don't nitpick on one another, because we realize that picking and nagging and complaining about the small things in life, how you put the dishes in the dishwasher, who takes out the garbage, who waters the plants. If we start nagging and complaining about these small issues, you can't realize and get through the big issues. Does it really matter which way the dishes are facing in the dishwasher? No, they get clean no matter what. Just because I like them one way and he likes it the other way, I know not to complain, because he will say that you can just do it yourself. And why would I put that extra work on myself? Communication is key in a relationship. My work history. I have worked in a variety of different industries: healthcare, software development, engine manufacturing, water filtration. I worked at a nonprofit art center, and for the last 12 years now, I've been with the state of Wisconsin in a couple of different areas. I've always been an administrative assistant or held that type of a role, every single industry. The communication skills that I have, that's what helps push me forward in each of those jobs. I have helped with interviewing for hiring new positions. When my first job in healthcare, I was an HR assistant. I started interviewing all the different employees to help write their job descriptions. And then how do we include the accommodations that are needed for any disability? That's where it started. I had to learn how to work with and talk with different people and understand their communication style to get them to open up to me. You always have to be able to adjust your communication style, even if you have a dominant style. going through this program for understanding your communication style. You take a quiz and it lets you know what is your dominant communication style, and you adjust and you use it when you can. Like I said, my latest work has been with the state of Wisconsin. I celebrated 10 years with the Department of Corrections. That is where I learned the totality of the situation. You don't know what is going to happen day by day. You don't know what extenuating circumstances are going to have an impact on the decisions that you make. And you have to be able to adjust at a moment's notice. I use that philosophy every day now. I have to use that in Toastmasters. I have to be diplomatic. When I was a district director, you had to make decisions in the best interest of the entire district, not a personal effect. Had to be careful with it. My communication style changed. Initiating is my top communication style. Some of this, you may already know this from these few meetings that I've attended. Sociable, enthusiastic, energetic, spontaneous, fun-loving. This is me. But at the same time, I am a supportive communication style. Calm, steady, approachable, sincere, and gentle. But when the circumstances dictate, I am direct, I am decisive, I am competitive, I'm independent, confident, and I am ambitious. My lowest communication style, analytical. Circumstances sometimes require me to be precise, exact, logical, systematic, and task-oriented. I will move in and out of every single communication style all the time. And now that I'm working for our Department of Workforce Development as an employment and training specialist, I continue all these communication styles. I have to in order to succeed in my job, and I have to in order to help all of our job seekers to succeed in obtaining their next job. I appreciate you listening to me, and I hope that you take the time to determine your communication style and figure out how you adjust yourself depending on the totality of the circumstances. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.